Doc Coyle, welcome to the show. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for making time for this on a Saturday afternoon.
Well, I just always appreciate you having me on. No, but you're one of the guys that, even though we're buddies, I also like watch you a lot and listen to a lot of your stuff. So I feel like, in half the time, I want to chime in, but I can't.
Wait a minute. Well, we'll get into this later. I'm just gonna open myself a nice cold Diet Coke, caffeine-free Diet Coke. I'm not a Bud Light guy.
I literally don't remember the last time I had a Bud Light, and I'm not one of those people that'll like do the inverse, like cancel.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy 20 cases to own.
I've probably only had beer 10 times in my entire life, so it means nothing to me.
You're gonna live to be 100, all right? Me,
I hope so.
If I make it to 60, it'll be a great victory.
I hope so. Well, I have a lot of questions for you, but let's just jump right into the culture wars because why not?
So you had Phil on, and it's like I have to get the alternate take. And by the way, I love that episode. That was great.
Thank you. Yeah, I really like that one too. Well, I wanted to get your perspective on this because this is something I have really changed my mind about in the past 5 years or so, which is I never really thought that racism was an issue in metal until the past 5 years or so, which in hindsight was probably because, as a white guy, obviously it's not going to affect me. But from reading my comments and seeing how really negatively people react to any time I bring up the idea that racism exists in metal, it's become very obvious to me, at least. My perception is that there actually is quite a bit of it in metal specifically. And I say not punk and hardcore to me are different. I think it's specifically a metal thing. I don't think I've seen you talk about this very much, but as someone who's obviously going to have a very different experience from me, what is your take on that, and how much of an issue do you think racism is in metal?
Well, I think it's difficult to extrapolate that from just the recent trends in not just America, but the world in conversations about race. Like, a lot of this stuff, I grew up in the 80s, all right? The 80s was like Cosby Show and Michael Jackson. And like, we were kind of taught growing up in the 80s. And dude, I'm biracial, right? I had a black mother, white father. I grew up in a very racially diverse environment. And I was like almost taught like racism was something in the past.
And really quick, before we go any further, have you checked out my Patreon? Patrons get early access to all my main channel videos and my podcasts. I also do giveaways sometimes. For example, I just gave away a pair of these Eargasm earplugs. And if you want me to review your music, there's a way to do that as well. All you gotta do is join at the $10 and up level. Then every month I do a call for submissions. If you want me to review something, all you gotta do is drop it in the comments of that post. Then I will review it live on Twitch and post it on Patreon for everyone to see. So if that sounds cool, hit the link in the description of this video, and I appreciate your support.
Right.
So that was like how I kind of came up, and in a weird
I was watching the Fresh Prince and MTV Raps, and it just it didn't occur to me at all until like NWA and stuff came out that was like an issue.
Yeah, and and I think in a weird way, like ironically, Obama getting elected was almost like ground zero for a new kind of like it like unearthed all of this stuff that was kind of like just under the surface about conversations about race in positive ways and negative ways. It was just this thing that I think, and it wasn't, the truth was in the 80s, racism existed. We were just, the cultural environment was to just not talk about it.
Right.
And I think a lot of stuff was festering underneath the surface for a lot of years, and that stuff manifested itself in a lot of ways. And I think how that has manifested itself in the metal scene is just really a kind of a finer point of a bigger thing that's happened in society in general, right? And so what has happened, really this whole kind of move towards this new activism around race really started around like 2014, post Michael Brown and Freddie Gray and all, and all that stuff. And that kind of swelled up, into like the conversation about Trumpism and MAGA and how that relates to race and all that stuff. Just, all these subcultures. I don't care if it's metal or EDM or whatever, we're all like affected by what's going on in the broader culture.
Yeah, but there is a Nazi subgenre of metal, and there's, at least to my knowledge, there isn't like Nazi pop punk or Nazi techno or.
Well, that's my kind of other point, and I have written about this a little bit when I was writing for VH1, is that metal in particular is its kind of cultural through line is European.
Right.
And that because that's where, heavy metal was started, basically in Birmingham, England, by Black Sabbath and Judas Priest. And, I know, Iron Maiden ones are from Birmingham, but like, Motorhead, like all that stuff. And then you look at kind of the second wave of that. A lot of those bands are coming from Germany. A lot of those bands come from Scandinavia. And I think, and even in America, right, the metal bands that were, the whole kind of, thrash movement, that burgeoned in white suburbs. That's who was kind of connecting to that,
right.
to that movement. And it's kind of this thing that's spoken or it's unspoken, this idea that like this is the music for us.
Well, sometimes it is spoken, which is the part that shocked me.
Yeah.
I'll see people in the comments being like, well, the reason why rock's not popular anymore is because they're trying to exterminate white culture. And I'm like, and there's like hundreds of people saying this. And I'm like, whoa, I had no idea that there was like people who actually thought this.
Well, but I just think the internet and social media has a way of magnifying very small movements.
But I get it. But it's like thousands. If I see thousands of people commenting this, like how many people do we have to see before it's.
Well, no. But what I'm saying is like the internet magnifies things like on a aesthetic level, but also on a real level. So the flat earthers, right, was a very small thing 12 years ago, but because of the internet, there's more flat earthers.
Right.
But what I'm saying is like dead ideologies get new life. So like, like this idea of Kanye West being an anti-Semite only exists because the ecosphere of the internet tends to kind of like recycle old ideas. And I think we have we're in a very contrarian ecosphere where the more contrarian the view, the more interesting you're seen. And the truth is like going along with like the status quo is not interesting. Saying something, and so because we have an economy of attention, you have to say the craziest shit to get anyone to pay attention to you. And so I think it's like, a big reason why we're in this mode of like, going back to 2016, it's like conservatism is the new punk rock. It's that we have broad consensus on some basic shit now, right? It's like, just be nice to minorities is the consensus, right? So the way you'd be a rebel is to do the opposite of that. And then now you're interesting. And now you're like, I'm against this.
Edgy.
Right. And then that's the kind of the weird thing about consensus is when like consensus is really reasonable, the only way you can be interesting is to be unreasonable. And so, so I just think, I'm not saying that stuff isn't true. I think it's always been there, whether you're talking about black metal and, and I watched, I think one of the videos you did about talking about racism and, being, God forbid, my band was, majority black band.
Which, by the way, I never thought of, God forbid, as like a black fronted metal band or whatever until people started sort of saying that after the fact. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like
it was our calling card, though. If you read like the first bio that Central Media did for us, it leaned kind of heavily into that.
I see.
And it was something, like I said, it wasn't just like we had a black singer, like, our drummer was black, me and my brother, biracial. And what I'm saying is it's actually a lot more complex than there's racism in metal, because actually I think the predominant bulk of metalheads, right, that are generally white men, right, they actually almost do the opposite. Like they're actually like, it's more likely they will tokenize someone and be like really super excited that like they're like, well, I like the fact that I love Seven Dust.
Yes, it's always Seven Dust.
Of how is a reflection of how racist I'm not, and I'm not saying that they are racist. I'm saying like these are good people. Like the one thing that's kind of cool about having this job is you get to go see the country and you get to see middle America, you get to see down south and all these, if you're, like me, you're from New Jersey, you live in LA, you live in all these kind of metropolitan places. There's a lot of stereotypes that go on that really, like, I think is detrimental to like our national conversation about, that we focus way more on our differences than we do on the things we have in common. And, I think it's really, I really enjoyed that fact that I can kind of like have it, not that I'm some like elitist or I'm some like in this some sphere, but the lifestyles are very different. But being able to, like, when you're in metal, you're entrenched in like the blue collar kind of, the regular Joe kind of white communities. That's predominantly what it is. And it's not, like I said, I don't think it's like a segregation thing. It's just, this is just generally who tends to like this music. And I don't think there's like anything insidious about that. I think most people kind of lean with good intentions, but I just think we, unfortunately, collectively, we don't have a great handle on how we discuss race. And I think the real downside of like the BLM movement and all the stuff that happened in 2020 is it's just like intensified things. And it's very like, it's like you're one of those and it's like,
on both sides.
Yes. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, if you have one group of people that say everyone's racist and you have one group of people that says no one is racist, then they're clearly both wrong. But sifting through that is like, it's just very tough. And now everyone is, if you're entrenched in a position, you're so defensive, right? You're so fucking defensive and locked up in your fucking thing. It's like, it's just very difficult to have a conversation. And my views, about it. Yes, there's a lot of that from personal experience. But you got to keep in mind, man, when you're biracial and you're mixed, motherfuckers don't know what you are. You know what I'm saying? I'm Pakistani or fucking Mexican or Honduran. No one knows what I am.
My proud Honduran brother. I'm glad to see another one of us in the scene.
Exactly.
Okay.
and I always say, like, there's white privilege. There's also light privilege, right? Where like, people didn't treat me the same way they treated Byron, our singer.
By the way, I had no idea that existed until like 4 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, but why would you?
Because why would I?
Yeah, like we don't. I don't think we offer a lot of charity to the fact that like lived experience is like highly subjective, and and empathy has its limitations, right? Like, it's just, there's not going to be a VR walk through like, yo, man, live like a black dude.
that would that'd be an interesting one.
Yeah, but
no way to do that one without making everybody angry.
Yeah, but like the thing is, I always try to like explain to people, it's just so much more subtle, right? Like, I can't point to, I'm someone that, my dad was like, as to quote a great comedian, said, to the left of Lenin. My dad was like, very lefty, but also not actually, he wasn't like a socialist or anything. He was more just like a Kennedy Democrat kind of vibe. But he really into history, and like I said, he was this guy who had 2 kids with a black lady in the early 80s. Very divergent, but very steeped in black culture, and really cared about that stuff. Really educated me a lot about that stuff, civil rights and stuff. So I have a lot of that has really seeped into my personality and things I kind of want to stand for, because I do think it is a moral good, of what occurred during that era and moving us forward. Like, one of the things that really bothers me about the kind of more like black power lefty stance of today is like this idea that no progress has been made. That just, it's because it's like, it's a very cynical way to look at the world and to just only count your losses but not count your wins.
Cynical and inaccurate and just wrong.
But that, yes, but it also is a matter of focus, right? It's like, I'm just going to focus on what's not working instead of what has worked. And I just it just bothers me. So it's, I do think it's a complex conversation, and there's so much new. I mean, everything's nuanced, but this is extremely nuanced, and I enjoy talking about these issues, and I feel I'm in a position to kind of educate people, because I'm telling you, being biracial does give you a vantage point, because I'm not rooting for anyone. You know, there's a lot of there's a lot of biracial people who tend to like identify one way or the other, right? Like no one ever calls Barack Obama the first biracial president. They call him the first president, right? And that's something that, you know, people that, you know, biracial people have to deal with in their lives, of like figuring out who am I? Where do I? And I've always just kind of tried to ride right in the middle. You know what I'm saying? I'm white on some shit, I'm black on some other shit, you know, and sometimes you'll see me switch like, oh shit, that's white Doc.
My son is due next month, and he's going to be, you know, half Vietnamese and half white. And it just sort of occurred to me the other day, like, oh yeah, he's not really going to look exactly like me. That's interesting.
Yeah, he's going to be better. He's going to be better than you. You know, that's the thing. That's about the kids, man. They're the new improved version. It's the new formula. You know, it's like that new diet Coke with no caffeine.
Right. Well, my wife's also a lot better looking than me, so that helps.
There you go. Well, that's what I'm saying.
One thing I've always appreciated about you on that note is that, you know, you certainly have a lot of opinions on politics and social issues, and I think, you know, pretty strong ones. But you've always been a very tolerant person, too, of other points of view, which is very refreshing to me, given the current environment where you, like you said, you know, people on both sides just want to like demonize each other and paint each other in the worst possible light. You know, and like, so, you know, you're a pretty progressive person, but you were in a band with Tommy Vext for years, who is obviously not. And I know you play shows a lot.
He was apolitical most of the time I knew him, by the way. So
okay,
that happened very late and very rapidly. So
got it. Okay, well that's okay, noted. But you've also played a lot of shows with bands where I think you probably don't agree with them on a lot of that stuff. How do you think about that, and why is that so rare these days?
I don't think it's that rare. Like one of the things I listened when I was listening to your conversation with Phil that I disagreed with was you guys kind of were in lockstep on this idea that there's this like one way most of the metal or heavy music community thinks, and like Phil's this huge divergent, and it's just not the case. I think the truth is most artists especially don't voice their true opinions because they don't want to face any backlash. But I think it's pretty mixed. I think it's very mixed. Okay. I think there's, you know, a lot of people that are pretty right wing that don't really talk about it. There's a lot of people middle, very left, because they don't want to deal with the backlash. And I understand that. Like I almost feel like it's a burden of feeling like you have something to contribute, that you almost feel like if I don't say something that like this pool is so muddy that if I don't put a little chlorine in here, it's like, you know, but it's also like, it's like pissing in the ocean. Like, are you really having an effect? Probably not, but it's like, let me do something a little bit to kind of make
to clarify. The way I feel is that of the people in the metal scene who express their opinions online, I feel like the vast majority of them are on the left. And that's my perception. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's how it feels to me.
Listen, I don't have like some, you know, detailed
meter.
Yeah, like, you know, what it is. I think a lot of that is kind of self-sorting based on, it might have to do with a lot that you're more probably aligned with hardcore and punk and kind of scene, where I think that leans very much in that direction. But the world I'm in, the world of the Five Finger Death Punches, the Stains and stuff like that, I think there's actually market forces that actually would say it's more in your favor to lean the other way.
I think you're right about that.
You know what I'm saying? So I think it is a lot more diverse than that. And I think, again, this goes back to what I said before. Contrarian opinions are more valued in the internet spaces than ones up the middle. So I don't know if you've seen Phil, his social media does pretty fucking well. And when he tweets, it gets a lot of attention. And he's now working in the, you know, the media you know, world because of those opinions and because it has tracked well. But, you know, I'm sorry, I kind of like lost the thread of you were saying, go back to the original. Well, I was
just my question is basically, you know, that I think you're one of the people who is very tolerant and able to be friends with and work with people who you don't necessarily agree with, which I think is awesome. Yeah. And there's a lot of people who dig in their heels and won't do that. And I guess, you know, how do you think about that? And my perception is that that's a rare thing. You're saying maybe it's not so rare, but how do you think about
because
that?
I think those divisions exist within bands all the time. Like, do you think all, God forbid, are all vote for the same people? No, so I'm used to that. And it's a lot. And I can name other bands where it's like that too. And I'm like, but again, a lot of people are they don't like to put their stuff out there because they don't want that kind of attention, which I totally understand. But to me, the reason why is I think since pretty much, late, the beginning of the 2010s, the biggest problem in this country, and by virtue, like the Western world, has been divisiveness.
Mm-hmm.
The number one problem. But the problem is no one sees that. That was the reason why we liked Obama. He's like, I'm going to bring people together. White America, red America, blue. Remember that speech and he gave in like 2000, whatever year he gave that speech, 2006, I think, or 4. That was the whole thing. But when we realize, like, oh, he's just a guy. He's not going to fix the world. He's not this pie in the sky thing of this hope and change. And we thought, it's like, no, it's just he's a president and the world keeps going on. And they're not saviors. They're not superheroes. They're just people. They're doing their best. But we're the ones that have to fix us, right? Like, it falls on us. It's not going to be a leader. It's not going to be like, so I'm of the mind that, in a weird way, like, minorities have always had to deal with certain adversity and pushback, right? And then these kind of right-wing ideologies became so unpopular within the mainstream, they became minority. So now they know what it's like to be a minority.
Wait a minute, this sucks.
Yeah, and so that's how they behave. Like they behave like they're the ugly redheaded stepchild, and they have a chip on their shoulder. But what the kind of moderate left, metropolitan left who who is at the forefront of universities and media and a lot of corporate infrastructure, what they need to realize is you can't let those people out to pasture. You have to bring them into the fold, and this goes, and I think this, and so it's like, I think you have to have compassion for people who have fucked up views, because they got there somehow. They didn't get there on their own, and and the more you push them away, the further to the extreme they're going to go, and so by the way, I have friends, dude, like me and Zoltan from Five Finger, we've had great conversations and debates where but I look at it like we're sharing ideas. Like the point is, I shouldn't go to a contentious conversation and go, I'm going to convince him. It's no, I should go there to learn something, because I respect him as a person, and I know he's a smart guy. He grew up, in a communist country, and he has a perspective that's different than mine. Mm-hmm. He know things I don't know, And I think the problem is we just assume, and this is like, despite me being kind of maybe the left of center to some degree, I was a lot more partisan when I was younger. But I think that's the dumbest way to think, because you're just like, well, clearly my side we're right with these 100 things. We're right on all 100 of them, right? And it's like, but when you operate in good faith and realize that the person that you disagree with probably got there from, good reasons, but, and you still might disagree at the end of it. Intentions are rarely bad, and I think being able to sift through the people with good intentions and bad intentions is really important. And that's something that I try. Listen, I give you a list of media figures who I think do not operate in good faith.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Bud Light thing, to me, that's like this Bud Light thing is a perfect example of what you're talking about. To me, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but people operating in bad intentions, like the controversy about this is like the current thing, about them putting a trans person on the can, which I'm sure everyone will forget about in 2 weeks. And I have a hard time thinking that the vast majority of these people on the right who are outraged about it are really that upset about it, and like,
they're not. I called out Phil yesterday because he put out some post about it, like kind of waving it on. And I said, you're better than this. Because have you ever, and I'm sure you noticed this right away, the way Phil, and I said, I love Phil. Like, that's my homie. Like, everything I'd say right now, I would say to Phil, right to his face, I would say we've had 3-hour debates on my podcast, is that I know he doesn't care. I know, because he's too smart for that. He's too decent for that. But Phil's caught up in the fucking, it's like a riot, right? Like people who like they do a riot and they're like, then all of a sudden they come to like the Incredible Hulk after he's in the woods with, it's like you're just caught up in the fervor because it's like it's the thing this week. I
mean, I do it all the time when MGK says something. I don't give a fucking shit what he said about anything, but I know that it'll get clicks if I talk about it, so I do it. And I am certain, and I'm not talking about Phil in particular, I find Ben Shapiro, I think, actually is a transphobe.
Yeah.
So I think he might actually care about it. But aside from the small number of people who are actual transphobes, I don't think anybody cares. I think they just play it up to get clicks so they can, have this sense of righteous indignation. And it really worries me that it seems like this gets worse and worse every year.
Well, listen, I feel like one of my, like, I probably should quit music and just go into like political analysis, because I think it's probably,
yeah, because it's so much easier.
No, but I think I'm really good at it. Like, I think
I think so. Yeah.
Like, I think it's something that actually interests me, and I think I see angles that a lot of other people don't, because I'm not invested in any team, so I can kind of back away and go, okay, because the thing about politics, and I go, like I said, when you're like, I'm like an old school political junkie. Like, dude used to watch like, what was that guy? Chris, I forget his name. It was on like MSNBC. I forget his name, but I'd watch like Morning Joe, and like I was like,
yeah.
But
did you ever get into C-SPAN? Did you go that deep?
Nah, well, it depends who was on, but sometimes I'd watch the Sunday shows. But like, the problem is you have this very kind of extreme, who people don't, and there's a problem with people who are far in one lane or extreme one lane, but they don't realize it. They think they're the center. This is the problem. Yeah. Everyone thinks they're the center. So they have right. Like, it's like their political compass is broken, and they don't really know where they are. But to me, this is a moral panic. And moral panics happen all the time, right? It reminds me what's happening now is very similar to what happened post 9/11 in the conversation around Muslim people, right? Yep. They were the 24 was the big show on TV, and they were always the bad guys in the movies, and it was very like, it was just,
and Russians in the 80s.
Yeah, but at least Russia, like,
at least Russia actually was kind of bad.
Well, not that they were specifically bad, but it was the Cold War was a real thing, and it lasted a really long time. And we got, Vietnam was about communism, and the Korean War was about communism, and the Cuban Missile Crisis, of all these things you could point to that was relevant. But what I'm saying is, this group that is really caught up in the trans thing, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it started with Chappelle, but it was like an opening salvo to make it this mainstream thing. But I think it's just people are caught up. They're caught up. And once you go, I'm protecting the kids, right? Anything is justified, right? Like, if you go and someone like, molested your kid or like kidnapped your kid, and you went and like literally chopped the person's head off, they throw a parade for you.
Yes.
You're doing it. So we are very okay with doing really horrible things for good reasons.
Yeah.
For moral reasons. It's like, things that are justified. So once you kind of create that, and to me, it's almost identical to the abortion conversation, which is like, these people hate women. No, in their mind, they're saving babies.
Right.
So it's the same thing. So the problem is we just focus on different things. So they don't think I hate trans people. They're like, I'm just trying to save the children, right? But they are caught up in it. And the truth is, I'm sorry, y'all. Like, I gotta look right into the camera. You do hate trans people. You do. A fair
amount of them do. Yeah.
You do. You do hate. Listen, I mean, it's unfortunate, and I think, and to me, it's a conversation that we shouldn't be having. I think doctors and psychologists and psychiatrists, and those are the people, these are medical issues.
But to your point, you, as a media pundit, you can't opt out. You can't be like, I don't feel like I'm qualified to have an opinion on this. I'm going to leave this one to the doctors.
But we should.
We should. But you can't, and that's the thing that disturbs me.
Yeah, well, like a lot of times, I think often, like let's say there's like a mass shooting or a terrorist event or something that's like very immediate and prescient. Usually, and it's a news story. Usually, you have the least amount of information, and you're the most emotionally caught up in it. So it's actually the worst time to voice an opinion about it. What you want to do is calm down, let a couple of days pass, let more information come in, because usually a lot of the early reporting will be wrong, right? It's like, oh, we thought the suspect was this. We thought this many people got killed, but it turned out it was this. But again, now we're all our own little CNN, right? We're all our own little vestige point for opinions. And the truth is, what is our incentive? Attention. Right. So, and like I said, and if you're good at it and you get enough attention and you're entertaining, you can be someone like Phil who can actually have a career in that realm. Even me, like before Bad Wolves was going, I was writing a lot about politics, and I enjoyed it, and I felt like I had something to say, and I almost thought that maybe I was going to go more in that realm of kind of being someone who does just is in more in that world and kind of speaking on social issues, speaking on politics, speaking on racial issues. But from my angle, which is to be not like hyperbolic, to kind of bring something sensible and compassionate. Like I think, you got to be compassionate for the people you disagree with. I don't know this kind of, far into the spectrum of like, dude, they're in a war. That's why these people like the Tim Pools, these people, they're like always talking about the Civil War. It's like, if you turned off your Twitter, if you stopped going on YouTube and you just went outside, you'd be like, there ain't no Civil War. People just going to work. It's just look out here. There's this mail truck going by.
Yep.
Bar over here. They're having fun. There's no Civil War.
In the real world, nobody gives a shit about any of the stuff they're yapping about on Twitter.
Yeah, but that's the thing about this whole the moral panic around trans people is a group of people that is eternal, like they are online. Like they are just like they are in that.
Well, I think there's also people on the left who are convinced that there's like a war on trans people that doesn't exist either. Although there is definitely real transphobia, and I don't mean to downplay that.
Well, I think all you got to do, dude. I'm sorry, I have to push back there. I mean, Michael Knowles went on stage at CPAC and was like, "We need to eliminate transgenderism from public life," and Matt Walsh. Also, by the way, this is the worst thing about Ben Shapiro.
Matt Walsh is a crazy person. I want to go on record as saying that.
But what I'm saying is they are all Daily Wire people. So what Ben Shapiro does is he gets plausible deniability of being the sensible conservative, but then he employs his hatchet men who go out there and deploy like the actual agenda. And people accused Michael Knowles of, oh, well, you're trying to exterminate transgender people. Well, no, I'm trying to exterminate transgenderism. And I go, well, what is that a distinction?
I'm not trying to exterminate black people. I'm just trying to exterminate blackness.
Blackness, yeah. But the thing is, so ideas, and this is why I brought up the Chappelle thing, is that, someone said politics is downstream from culture. That Chappelle mainstreamed this idea of othering trans people, that they're kind of like, hey, this group of people is kind of like, we got to keep our eye on them.
Yeah, I think he actually does. I think he actually does. I don't know if hate is the right word, but he doesn't like trans people.
Dude, I think if you were to talk to, I love Dave Chappelle, and if he was playing down the street, I would buy a ticket, and if he's done a special, I'll watch it. I think he's the best comedian of all time. I think he's a genius, but like all geniuses are not geniuses about everything. They're geniuses about a few things, and then they have blind spots. And I think if you were to talk to Chappelle, I think he's a really thoughtful guy. I think he is a really someone who cares about people and tries to be open-minded. I just think Chappelle, like a lot of men of his age, they don't understand it.
Yeah.
They just don't. And by the way, they're probably not going to understand it. Like if you were of a certain age when post Civil War, and also like imagine you lived during slave times, and the first time you saw an actual interracial couple walking around, you're like, you just couldn't understand it. You'd be like, how could that? And I think it's just going to take time because, like I said, I think this is a medical and scientific and a psychological thing that is beyond my skill. Like it's like me having an opinion on this is like about the actual like ins and outs of how it works and what the actual details of it is, like me having an opinion on nuclear physics. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I have no frame of reference. All I can do is talk to people I know who are trans and hear their stories. I can read, and I try to be open-minded about it, right? Because every now and again, you'll have an article about someone who detransitioned and says it was a terrible experience and they were pressured. And I try and take it all in. I don't just try and be ideological and go, I'm with these people. I think it's a tough issue. I think there's so much emotions, but what I do agree with you on is, here's the truth. There just is not that many trans people in the world.
Yeah. And the vast majority of normal people don't care one way or the other. Yeah,
I think it's a losing issue for the right wing. I think it's going to blow up in their face.
They're going to be on the wrong side of it for sure.
Well, I think in the long run, I think they will. But I think actually electorally, I think in 2024, I think they think this is going to be like their, what was that? It was the Mexican caravan in 2020.
Oh yeah, right.
There's the invasion, right? It's this thing that because it's fear. It's selling fear. And I know the left wing has the shit that they're selling that's fear based as well. But I just think they're so caught up in it. It's a fervor,
Yeah.
And it's in the long run. I just think I think people are out just doing their thing. They're like, I know like 3 trans people. Like I know more people have died from COVID.
Well, I know a lot of trans people, which a lot of them transitioned after I knew them, and I would just see on Facebook like, oh, this person used to be Jeremy and now it's Jenny. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And this has happened to me probably 15 times or something over the last decade. Yeah. And that was really, I'm really grateful for that experience because I actually know a lot of trans people, which I don't think most people do. And I don't know them because they're trans. I just happen to know them and they are trans.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I think I have a different perspective on it than a lot of people. It's not like an abstract issue to me. There's some of these people I've known for 10 or 15 years. And, it's really, it's kind of a non-issue to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's the thing that if we weren't talking about it, we wouldn't be talking about it.
Yeah, like it's up to them. Like how, you're trans. Well, that's kind of that's your thing to think about, not mine, Yeah. Like I don't need to have an opinion on it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think eventually it'd be kind of like a snake eating its own tail. But I do think it does affect people. I think when you like
I've never seen something that gets people this fucking whipped up into a frenzy. It's weird.
Well, listen. The Bud Light thing is so emblematic of what is going on. It's a beer can, right? By the way, that never came out. I think.
Well, there's like one of them. It was never supposed to come out.
Yeah, it was just.
It's like literally one can.
But what I don't see, and by the way, it's just like I think Dylan Mulvaney is just super annoying. Like I was actually trying to think of like if you were to take another minority, and like who is the Dylan Mulvaney of that? Like I don't know if it's like I'm like
Juicy Smollett or whatever.
Yeah, or I don't know, like Flavor Flav or something. Like I don't know,
right.
Flavor Flav, but I'm just saying like someone who's kind of like just
Professor Griff,
just someone that's just kind of silly, and maybe everyone like all the black people like I don't know if that's our best representative. We're kind of putting out there. But the truth is, like, I think one of the biggest fallacies, I talk about this on Twitter all the time, is like what a lot of the right wing thinks corporations doing is woke is just them trying to make money.
Oh, yeah, that's all it is. They don't give a fuck about trans people,
They're just they just want that sweet TikTok cash. That's it. They're trying to market to younger, more diverse people to make more money because guess what? They're number one, right? So that's like when you're number one, you're trying to just expand, right?
Like when Scion would like sponsor ringworm shows and stuff. It's the same thing.
Good times. Those are good times.
That's right. That's those Scion bucks.
I have a Scion. It's a great car. All right. And it's continued it. So it's so solid.
Travesty. Well, let me switch gears. Yeah, that's right. Well, on that note, let me switch gears to talk about some music stuff.
Sure.
And as you know, I've been a fan of metalcore for a very long time, since back in the 90s. You know, you guys sent me the God Forbid demo way back in 98 or whatever it was, 99, I don't remember. But these days, I can't think of a genre of rock that is more boring and uninspiring to me than current metalcore. And I don't want to name any names, but you know, all the Octane stuff and pretty much all the progressive metalcore kind of bands, just I think there are two problems with it. Number one, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Number one, I think metalcore lost any kind of connection to hardcore, the core part of it, which to me is where a lot of the groove and energy and lyrics came from. And number two is guitarists making music for other guitarists. That's my opinion on it. And obviously there are millions of people who love this stuff, so I'm only one person. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's very difficult to actually put the finger on what is metalcore now. I think it means like maybe about 10 different things to different people. But it's funny that there's part of that I do agree with, in that there is a kind of like sameness in the auditory palette that everyone's drawing from, in terms of low tune guitars, certain grooves, it's like electronic elements being utilized in the same way. And what it reminds me of is like at the kind of peak of nu metal, that any band that was doing that sound was blowing up. And like, dude, and right now you're having a wave where I live about half hour from the Anaheim House of Blues. And dude, and any hot new metalcore band that plays over there sells it out. Under Oath just sold it out. August Burns Red just sold it out. Fit for a King just sold it out. Wage War is playing there next week. That'll probably be sold out. And if you were to take, a lot of those bands, like they're different, but it's of the same ilk, right? And it's like, it's all this shit is flying high. Like, and I think there's a lot of quality. And to me, though, the bands that are rising above all that are the ones who are doing different things. It's Turnstile. Like Turnstile is very much of the hardcore scene, but they're
not really metalcore though.
No, but they're, to me, I don't look at it like as metalcore. I just look at it as like heavy music, because I'm specifically
talking about metalcore. The stuff you're talking about with the low tune guitars and Linkin Park choruses and the wheelie riffs. I'm just like, guys, enough. I get it. Like, we've been doing this for 15 fucking years now. I get it.
But it's bigger now. But what I'm saying is the incentive is that's what people want to hear right now.
Yeah.
And so if you and the thing is, if you have good songs and you look good and you sound good live, and a lot of these bands too, it's not like they came out last week. They've it's taken them 15 years to kind of finally get out there and have this success. And it's like, it's kind of what the people want. But I do hear you.
Totally.
Like I've personally, like you had Matt from Avenged Sevenfold on your show.
Yeah.
And I spoke to him too. That's going to come out soon, but he sent me an advance of their album, and it was like the most refreshing thing, like between that and the new Metallica album, where I'm like, they don't sound like every other album. They're not tuned down. It sounds like a real band. It's like, and and you can do this when you listen to like a playlist of like the modern metal, whatever, and everything sounds very similar. It's all mastered very similar.
Exactly.
And it's really good. But for me, the things that grab me lately are stuff that really stands out. It's like Sleep Token is like taking off because it doesn't sound like it has elements of things that are modern, but they're turning left when everyone else is turning right. And that's
I wanted to ask you specifically about Sleep Token, because anytime other people like something and I don't get it, I want to figure out what they're seeing and hearing and responding to that I don't get. And with Sleep Token, I don't really get it, but I would like to. So you tell me, explain it to me.
They have a pop singer in the band that would be huge, even if he was just a pop singer. Like,
I just wish they played songs that were more pop.
They do have pop, like they have songs on the record that are just pop. So it's like, so if you listen to their previous record, it's really good, but it's not like this is changing the game. And then when they put out that new song, I'm forgetting the name of it.
The TikTok one?
I guess I don't know TikTok, but whatever.
Yeah, what's the funky part in it?
Yeah, whatever the first song was
Yeah.
that they released that's coming out on their new album, it was like, oh, this is a game changer. To me, it reminded me when Opeth came out, where you're like, oh, you can do this in metal. And that doesn't happen very often. It happens every
No, it doesn't.
5-6 years where a band comes out,
Right.
and it's like they do everything well. They're progressed. They're like, it's basically like if you had a gent version of Tool, who also can do these like jazzy R&B parts, but I'm telling you, and then you take all that, and then they have this fucking image and this concept, and that always takes like, you know, something from a marketing standpoint from like a 2 to a 10, and so to me, and then
like if they look like me, they wouldn't be half as popular.
Well, you don't know what they look like because they got these fucking masks on. They might.
I mean, if they went on stage
just like you,
looking like this, you know.
Yeah, and it's always mattered, right? Like, you know, and to me, they're like, I think they're going to be the next Ghost in terms of the size and their impact. And I just think the songs, man, I think the songs are fucking undeniable. There's such a high level, and it's like, dude, some bands just hit that moment. I think I'm very good at recognizing this, where I'm like, oh, that's it. They hit they found the thing, and it's like, and dude, and sometimes it only takes. You only you don't have to make one all-time classic record.
Yeah,
You're made
forever.
Yeah, it's like Guns N' Roses made Appetite for Destruction, and that's it. Every album probably could have sucked. It wouldn't matter.
Yep.
Because it's like you did it. You hit the final level. And so yeah, but I think the key is ultimately, like, outside of all the proggy stuff they do, they have a singer that is instantly recognizable and is a good enough singer.
Yeah, he's very good.
He could be a solo artist and be successful in the pop world all on his own. And I think that just people like that are just rare. There's just not many of those. And to have one in metal is kind of crazy.
Very rare. Like Noah from Bad Omens is another one of those people, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, and it just, they're just very few and far between. And so you take that with this prog thing, and they do it so well. Like, they're musically very, very high level, but not in a way that only musicians can understand it.
Yeah.
And Tool's that way too, right? It's very musically complex, but normal people can comprehend it. High level songwriting, and then this image thing. And there's like a whole like concept and story behind it.
All the lore. Yeah.
Like, and that, dude, that people eat that up. And I'm just like, I just posted, they sold their entire tour out, and I go, they're playing like theaters, and they should probably be in like, you know, 3,000-4,000 cap rooms at this point. But
yeah, I mean, if they're selling theaters out in a day.
But that's the smart move, though. You sell it out, you build a demand, and you let people go crazy and sell, try and get tickets on StubHub and make it a kind of a fever kind of thing. And but yeah, man, I just get excited, man, when new bands come out and take off. It's like it helps the whole scene. And people always, a few years ago, everyone's like, who's going to be the headliners? And now you see them one by one. These bands just keep, they're just rising up.
Well, yes, I saw your tweet about this. I see your point, but they're still a long way off from being festival headliners. It's still a lot of the old guard up there.
Well, they're up there because we have a culture.
Because they sell tickets.
Well, yeah, but tickets, but also the longer a band is around, the bigger they get. We elevate them, and we should. And the reason why is because every time you go see AC/DC could be the last time you see AC/DC. So it's more valuable each time they perform. And their legend grows, right? Where each year you're further away from Back in Black. And guess what? Every year, a new 15-year-old kid discovers that. And it just adds to that lore. And
it is wild to me that you still see like 15-year-olds in Megadeth shirts. Like, that archetype of the 15-year-old with the mustache wearing the Megadeth shirt is never going to go away.
Do you know why, though? Because there's something. Dude, I learned this. I used to teach guitar at Guitar Center and School of Rock. And, I was teaching like 12-year-old kids. And, dude, and what do they want to learn? AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, Metallica, Pink Floyd. Like, there's something about that sound that once you hit that age, it just hits your ears in a certain way. And I don't know if other genres are like that. Like maybe certain 12-year kids, there's certain country music or certain hip hop, like old school hip hop, that hits their ears in a certain way. But there's something about with rock music. And to me, metal is just an extension of rock music overall. that just appeals to that teenage brain, that is kind of universal and everlasting. And I know, listen, popular music and recorded music as like a commercial entity is like really young. It's like 100 years old. So who knows how long that, maybe in 100 years it looks totally different. But at least in the kind of modern age of how we kind of absorb this media, it's amazing to me. And it gets me excited that it gets like young people excited. Like I play with Rob Trujillo in a band, and his son is, one of the sickest bass players in the world. He's like 17, 18 years old. And he has this kick-ass thrash. They're young as hell, but they sound like a thrash band from like 1985. And it's like, I'm sure a lot of it has to do with his dad and all that influence, but that sound, man, it just never kind of goes away. The same way like hardcore bands always sound like hardcore bands and punk bands always sound like punk bands.
Yep.
Even if they came out last week, there's something cyclical and kind of beautiful about that people always want, that whatever, how it came about was special and people still are into that.
There's a moment at which people perfected the thing, and that's what the thing is going to be forever.
Yeah, but I think it's cool, and it's this thing of we'll see where it goes, man. I don't know. Like I said, every now and again you have a Sleep Token or a fucking weird band that, baby metal, you're like, what the hell is this? Like that's gonna happen consistently. But it's these two tracks where that goes, and then sometimes you do something old that feels new because no one's heard it in a while. Like Amy Winehouse, for example, sounds like, a 50s artist. But and if it came out in the 50s, she would sound like 10 other people.
Or Bruno Mars.
Yeah. And that's just, or like even like Power Trip, right? Like that.
Yeah.
He sounded like Arise era Sepultura, but 25 years removed, they came out, it seemed like the freshest thing in the world,
Right. Well, speaking of which, you mentioned Rob Trujillo, and for anybody who doesn't know, you play, I guess still do it, right? The cover band called The Wedding Band, which is Rob and Kirk from Metallica, as well as some other people. You had like Joey Castillo from Queens of the Stone Age and Mark from Death Angel and Whitfield Crane. And
John Theodore is the main drummer, who's in Queens of the Stone Age currently. Yeah. Got
it. Okay. How insane is it to be playing on stage with people from Metallica and these other just absolutely iconic bands? And how did you end up being part of that?
Well, how does it feel? I mean, truth be told, like, I feel like if it felt weird or like I was like overhyped about it, I don't think I would be there. Do you know what I'm saying?
But it's cool.
It's super cool. Like, I feel grateful, and it's a fun gig because we're playing like Sabbath songs and Judas Priest, and I'm an old soul. Like, even though I play a lot of modern metal and I've kind of moved forward in that, like, I like just getting in a room with like loud amps and just playing tunes, and jamming. Like, so in a weird way, I kind of fit in that mold of like these more old school kind of mentalities. And I like playing that guitar style. And it's really fun. But how did it come about? So I mean, a lot of it kind of goes back to, I filled in for Lamb of God in 2009. And toured with Metallica. I did about 3 weeks. So I got to meet the guys and be familiar with them. And I moved to LA 2014 after I quit God Forbid. And I was just like, just doing gigs and just I came out here, I didn't have $1 to my name. And I just went for it, and I was doing this cover band with Ken Schulk from Candiria.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And Ken was filling in for Rob's other band called Mass Mental, which is like it's like 2 bass players. It's Benji from Skindred, and he was filling in for Brooks Wackerman, actually, who's in Avenged now. And they have 2 bass players, but there's one part in the set where they needed a guitar player to do these Black Sabbath tunes. And Ken was like, "Oh, I'm jamming with Doc," and thankfully Rob remembered me, from doing the Lamb of God thing. And so they just brought me in to, play these Sabbath songs, and they liked it. So we did the gig. It was at the Whiskey. It was the first gig I played in LA. I just did 2 songs, I think, or 3 songs. And fucking like Ozzy was there and Duff McKagan. And like, I met Stuart Copeland from The Police. He like complimented my guitar playing. I was just like, this is fucking wild. And then, I think what they liked about what I did is like, I came to rehearsal and like they would start playing, I would just start jamming and I was very, kind of free in a lot of a lot of players, especially in like the metal world, are not
kind of tight.
Yeah, it's very rigid, and you know, and I at that point I had a pretty diverse background in terms of like what I like to do, and so I just seemed to fit in. And Rob called me the next day, and he's like, "Man, he's like, I love the way you play. I love your feel." He's like, "Man, I love your attitude." He's like, "You're gonna do great here," and he just kept calling me, but it was mainly for like rehearsals. Like they had another guitar player for the gig, but they needed someone. So I was just like the fill-in guy, like to help them out. I did a couple gigs, but rehearsals.
The X-Man.
Exactly. And then Bad Wolves started happening, and that was taking off. It was right at the same time Metallica was putting out their last record. And then I remember looking on Blabbermouth, like, oh, the Wedding Band is doing something. And it was like a lot of the guys from Mass Mental. And I was like, damn, man, that's cool, man. That's fucking cool, man. And then I get an email from Rob. He's like, hey, man, Wedding Band is doing this thing. He's like, but Kurt can't make the rehearsal. Can you do fill-in, which I had kind of done before. So I was like, yeah, sure. And I happened to have time off. It's a lot of songs, but some of them I knew. I showed up. I was like, I wish I was like a little bit more prepared, but I was like, I got it done. But I got through the rehearsal and it went really well. Like it sounded good. And I was just like, because I just, when you're playing with Rob Trujillo, you want to like do him proud. I wanted to like, and that's how I always approach everything. And it went so well after the rehearsal. He's like, man, it sounded really good. He's like, man, maybe we might want to get you on this gig. And then he's like, oh, let me make some calls. So he's like, he does make some calls, wait like half hour. And then he's like, yeah, he's like, you know what, man, we just really don't have the budget for it. But during that half hour, I went from just being happy that rehearsal went well to now thinking about I could actually be playing on stage with these guys. And then so I said, well, what if I pay for my own flight? And he goes, all right, well, let me get back to you. And then, a couple hours later, he called me. He's like, well, if you pay for your flight, he's like, we'll take care of hotels and all that stuff. So I did that. Like I basically did a red eye into Toronto. We did the gig, and I did a red eye and flew, started the Bad Wolves tour with Papa Roach, and like it went great. It was bad. It was kind of like just a whirlwind of stuff. But then the band kept doing gigs and they kept calling me back, and now I'm like in the band, and I'm really tight with Rob. I see him a lot and we talk a lot, and it's like he's kind of like my mentor. I feel like in the industry, because his career is very similar to mine, where he played with certain bands and kind of kept moving up the ladder, but being a professional and being understanding kind of the job. Like people really only see kind of the surface of this, but it's like it's such like it is fucking hard work. Like I'm working on a gig right now. I haven't had a day off in a month. Like, and you don't think about music being like that. You think it's like, oh, we're gonna party and there's gonna be chicks, and no. Like once you get to this point, it's like any kind of entrepreneurial blue collar, like this, it's just fucking hours and time and concentration and being a professional.
You got to show up for this gig, which is not an easy one, and you got to be able to play. The expectation is that you're going to be able to play all of this stuff when you show up.
Absolutely.
Just the same as any other job.
Well, especially me, because I'm in the Eliza environments. I'm the low man on the totem pole. I'm the new guy, I'm the young guy. I'm the one that's doesn't have the same resume. So my standards are even higher, right? If I come below a certain standard, then I'm not valuable to any situation. So it's listen, I feel super lucky. I mean, the first guitar solos I ever played were Kirk Hammett guitar solos, and to be in the same room and jam with him and working on stuff and him showing me stuff and just and I'm lucky that I've played with so many different people that I understand what it is to like blend in and figure out your role and it's all about chemistry, right? Like I can't just be in the room and be in Doc world. I have to mold myself to fit in with what's happening, and be the person who is there to like make everything work better. And that's it. It's just like being glue, to make everything work together. Because bands are tough, man. It's like you're only as strong as your weakest link. And you got to listen to each other, and it's all about the personal and the vibe. Like that's what people don't really realize. They think it's just about playing. So much is about hanging out.
There's plenty of great guitarists out there.
Yeah.
Why are you the guy for the job beyond just what you can play? The confidence too. Like for anybody who doesn't know, Ken Schalk, the guy you mentioned before, is from a band called Candiria, and he's a fucking monster, like one of the fucking best ever. And like to have the confidence to get in a room and play with him and Rob Trujillo, like that's fucking intimidating.
Well, it's weird, man. I'm
not because Rob is like famous, but because he's a really good bassist and Ken is a fucking ridiculously good drummer. And it's like, holy shit, this is a tough room.
Rob's the best bass player I've ever played with, and it's not close. Like he's like virtuoso level musician, you know. It's insane, you know. But I think my personality is very much contradictory in that I'm eternally filled with self-doubt all the time, and then I'm also
and arrogance.
Yeah, I don't think it's arrogant. It's just more like,
I'm just joking.
It's like, you know what it is? It's like I'll feel that way, but once I get in the room, I'm like, this is what I do. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I prepare incessantly because of anxiety, of fear of failing, you know, fear of not you know, of not doing well, and not, you know, I never want to be the guy to disappoint the people around me. But it's this constant, dude, I wish I could be just someone who's just like, I'm the man all the time, because I just go back and forth, and it's so fucking annoying.
Yeah.
And I think you can't perceive yourself how people perceive you, and that's a tough thing.
Last thing I wanted to ask you about is I've been really excited just to see how successful Bad Wolves has been over the past, whatever, I don't know, what has it been, 6 or 7 years or something now? You guys just
5 years.
5 years, whatever. You guys just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger from what I can tell, which has been really cool to see. And in particular, you know, replacing a singer is really tough. Like that's usually a death blow for a band, or at least like a big setback, especially with Tommy being such a big focus and a big personality, that it had to be at least a little bit scary, you know, to replace him. Of like, man, we've come so far, but you know, you got to do what you got to do. It seems like, you know, with getting DL on the band, you guys didn't skip a beat at all. And in my opinion, he sounds a lot better. And I know we talked about it a little bit at the time when you were looking for someone new, but what was going through your head back then?
It's a good question.
Like, am I going to have to start all over again? You know, that kind of thing.
I think it's very hard to distinguish what we were going through in terms of like, you know, finding a singer and the acrimony that was being like publicly aired. And it was, that environment was very toxic, you know, and, you know, it's like a lot of bands have replaced singers, have replaced members, but very few bands have had like an active public campaign to like thwart the process.
Right.
And I think the big, like the long-term lesson from that is that things like that hurt everyone, right? Everyone loses. But it's just something we had, like, I kind of found a point within that process of going, this is how life is. Sometimes, like, you don't get the idealized version of things like this. You are defined by your adversity and how you react to it. So for me, it became a point in my life where I was like, I need to figure out how to be at peace with this and control what I control and go, this is going to be tough, but you're tough. You know, you will find out how tough you are by how you kind of deal with it. And I think for us, it was, we were under the gun because essentially the label wanted to get a record out like ASAP. And we had almost, 60-70% of record ready to go. It was just a matter of getting the person. So it was a real protracted period of time that we kind of was like, I think maybe we took 3 or 4 weeks of like getting demos and people sending stuff in. And then maybe we took another month of like seeing people in person to audition. And then the last step, we had people do like record new songs. And kind of all those processes of like hearing people on old songs, seeing them in the room, kind of catch their vibe, and then that last piece. But the truth is with DL, man, it just sounded the most like the band.
Mm-hmm.
And he's such a talent. Like And the truth is, like with someone like DL, we felt he'd be such an asset because he's a great producer, he's a great songwriter. You know, there's songs on the new album, like he played the guitar solos on 2 songs, and it's like I can't even go like, no, I need to do. It's like thick as fuck. I'm like, God damn, like he's probably a better guitar player than I am. You know, like it's, you know, it's messed up.
Yeah, people don't realize what a talented musician he is in general.
Yeah, it's actually nuts. Like he's a great drummer, and you know, and then on the new album that's not out yet, his voice sounds that much better. His like enunciation is better. He's doing some rapping shit on there. He's discovered this like deathcore voice. Like he's kind of one of these guys that can kind of like not only do a lot, but he's constantly learning new things. And
I assume you knew him from touring and stuff back in the day, so you had some like personal comfortability there.
Dude, I remember the day I met DL, 2004, Casey Strain.
He was scary as shit back then too.
Well, to me, he reminded me of like the younger version of me because he had a shaved head. He kind of, you know, we had like the same guitar. You know, he kind of borrowed the Doc Cole headbang. Like the reason why my back is bad now because I had this fucking devastating headbang that probably has cost me some years off of my life. But it was like we would play this venue in Springfield, Massachusetts called Fat Cats, and all like the big metalcore bands, whether it was All That Remains or Unearth or Diecast or Killswitch, they would open up for us when we play there. I don't know why. I felt like they were like sandbagging us, but we were just really popular in that town. But we would always headline, but it always went well. And then, but this time, the Casey Strain opened for us, and it did not go well. These motherfuckers blew us off stage. Like, like half the place left. I was dejected. And then, you know, but what made it feel good is, you know, I saw DL play, and then he was like in the front row, like fucking moshing and singing all the words to God Forbid. So I knew, you know, I was like, oh, he's the homie from day one because he showed us love, and we did a couple tours together. And yeah, it's just always, you know, he was on my podcast before, you know, way years before he was in the band. And so
Which to your point before, that's a big part of, you know, picking someone that you're going to live in a bus with for months out of the year is you need to know this is someone you can get along with.
Yeah. I mean, he's so easygoing. You know, he's just, you know, he's a dad, you know, he's just like,
yeah,
you know, and he's just a very, very nice person, which is like rare for singers. But I think he doesn't, even though he's like the singer, he probably doesn't think of himself as a singer.
Right.
In his mind, he's just a guitar player. So he doesn't.
By the way, I still think his guitar tone on Wormwood is like one of the heaviest fucking tones ever recorded. It's absurd.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, he's actually a very influential figure for like that whole genre that I feel like because he stopped touring with the band and kind of became a behind the scenes guy. Like unless you were around back then, a lot of people don't realize how much he influenced so many people, that there's the local tunings and those riffs. And, you know, he's just one of those guys. And it's ironic now because now like he wants to do the most poppy shit with Battle. He doesn't want to play any of that shit, you know? But that process, man, it was harrowed, but you know, we felt like it wasn't like, it was this weird thing where you thought, oh man, we're this big band and there's just going to be like 100 people out there that can do the, and it was when you go out there and you really look for people that can do a diversity of things and also like kind of fit a sound. It's like, you realize, oh, there's about like
4.
Yeah. Like people that actually could make sense for this job. And it's, you know, and you hear it all the time, especially out in LA, because it's like people will be putting band together. So, you know, any singers? And you're like, well, I need you know, and basically they all want the same thing. They want someone who's 25, who looks cool, who's got like a neck tattoo, who, you know, who could sing, who could scream, who, you know, doesn't party too hard, that like, and they just don't make like those people are just, they're one in a million. Maybe there's some guy in Sweden or some girl somewhere, you know, that has all that stuff. But usually those people they have to go out on their own band and become that person. But most of those people that can do that are already in bands, you know. So it's rare where you just kind of find like this diamond and this superstar in the making. But we had some great candidates, but everyone ultimately felt DL was the best choice, and he's done a great job. And a lot of it is learning on the job, you know, like because we knew the recordings he was going to be amazing. It was like, but the job that was really new to him was being the front man, playing live, going out there and kind of like, how would he connect to the crowd? How would he talk to people? How would he move? Like, he had to learn that stuff kind of on the fly, you know, and in every tour, he got better and better and better and better. And I think, you know, now we go out, do shows, it's like, I know he's going to kill it, you know, because he's got the reps in, and he's a hard worker. And, you know, and he's super dedicated, you know, and for us, like, you know, from the outside looking in, of course, it looks like, you know, things are just perfect, but, you know, it is a rebuilding process for us. Like, we've, you know, if you kind of have some wins going against you, you have to kind of calibrate yourself. And so for us, it was a lot of that was just like getting on the road, being in front of the people, showing kind of the new package. But we did feel like the last record, because of everything, was like rushed out a little bit. And the setup wasn't exactly what we wanted to be. And all that's trying to be corrected on this next record, which feels in more ways like the first record with DL, because he was there from the entire beginning process. And I think it's more reflective of what he wants. You know, there's a couple, 2 or 3 songs that are just his songs, you know.
And with someone who's a musician of his caliber, you know, you want him there from the beginning.
Absolutely. Well, we're almost in a situation now because our original guitar player, Max, came back, who started the band with John, and he's a fucking musical genius too. So it's like, there's so much kind of writing talent, and, you know, he's a great producer as well. Like, where it's like, it's hard to even get.
John is super talented, for anybody who doesn't know.
Yeah, John's the maestro. All right. John's the guy, like, you know, some of the best songs on this record are like John songs, where he's, you know, because John, like, he's a good guitar player, he's a good drummer, but he's more like the guy that like will be with the producer and kind of like orchestrate people to get the final product. It's really brilliant. And he's like, he'll work for like 15 hours in a row. He has no he has like
chill,
unlimited motor, you know. And yeah, so it's a very dynamic environment of just a lot of creative people. And also, you know, the producers we work with Joseph McQueen and Josh from As They Die, who's now in Spirit Box, you know, worked a lot on the record. And so, you know, it's a lot of talent. The new shit's sick, man. It's like, I'm really excited for people to hear it. I don't know when it's going to come out, because we basically finished a version of the record, and then our label always goes like, write more. And they always send us back to do more songs. And so we'll see. Hopefully we get a song out this summer or something, even if the record doesn't come out till late this year or next year. But I think people are really going to dig it, you know?
Cool. Well, I will let you go, but always great to talk to you, and I'm excited to hear it. And good luck with all things Twitch.
Thank you so much. You know, one of these days I have to get you back on the show, and so I have to wait for like topics to build up, you know, and then I could get off it, because I love talking to you. I love your opinions. I love arguing with you. It's one of my favorite things to do. And sometimes I argue when you're not here. Like, what'd you say? Ben, what did you say about that album? You talk shit about some band. Oh, I forget what it was. And it was like, maybe it was Megadeth or something. I was like, you're like
System of Down, maybe. I don't know. I got a lot of
this is objectively
takes.
Not good. I'm like, man, you don't talk to me, Finn. Don't talk to me, Finn. I will kill you.
All right. Well, anytime, you know where to find me. Always good to talk to you. So I will. I'll talk to you then.
Take care, brother. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
You too. I'll see you.